See you in a minute.
Hello, Kyber Cave Productions family. Hope you are all well this evening. Yeah, what's up? We are having some sound issues for Van here. Van did not forget his login credentials. He has not forgotten that in quite a long time. It has been.
I have not.
Van.
It's just crazy. I don't know what it is. It's something about technology. I literally keep this computer at the same exact spot. I don't move anything. It just decides what weeks it feels like working and what weeks it feels like, not working. What's up, Jonathan?
It's just what happens. Hi, Jonathan. Hi, Say Wong. Van O'Brien. Hi, Duran. It's good to see all of you in the chat. We've got a nice show for you. We've got a new flow. We've got our guest, Patrick Malone, who's a great photographer. I've seen actually quite a bit of his pictures because even though I'm not interviewing, I do my homework. I impressed last week's guest with my homework, by the way.
Yes. It kind of cracks me up. You guys don't get to see it. Like, all you guys get to see is the finished product and the interviews with the guests. But usually, in most cases, the way it works is I find a guest, I ask them if they want to be on the show, then I pass them over to Metz, and Metz gets all of the, links and photos and all that fun stuff she needs. But in the process of that, a lot of times, like, it seems like in 75% of the cases, Metz and like the person become best friends. Like,
no, that is not
long side conversations. The show would have been 3 months.
There's been a couple. There's been a few that I've been like that, just depending. Like, I really enjoyed my conversation with Joe Caroni because I'm a digital artist. I have, and then after the call talking to Carlos Sanchez, I really got inspired and I bought into a digital art tablet, which I didn't do guess that character with digital art this week. I just kind of had a crazy week and didn't have time to really. I don't like to like half draw something. I like to learn to draw something. Hi, Eric. Yes. So anyway, and last week was a lot of fun because, and thank you, Eric. Eric actually took time to private message me on Facebook to let me know I did a really good job last week. Because it's also like a profession that I'm not I wouldn't call myself a professional digital artist. It's not my full-time job, but I am published now. I'll tell you about it in a moment.
Go to the library.
Anyway, but since I know a bit about it and we can have nerdy talk, I can understand some questions that a lot of people might not know. And I even tried to educate our viewers at the same time, telling them what a composite was, showed them our digital artist pens and how they work and how you can put you can have something look like a paintbrush that you're painting with and then have it look like a marker pen and then a pencil, with the same tool. Anyway, So we went all nerdy talk. Anyway, so those kind of subject I can get really good at. Yes, Mezzo is a published artist, finally. A book that some of you who have watched for a while may remember, but like a year and a half ago, I was drawing for a book and it was finally published. It's actually a textbook for, computer science undergraduate schooling. So they have 12 or 13 chapters and every chapter starts with one of my pictures.
That is amazing.
So yeah, that was really cool. My first real good paid gig as a digital artist, and the week of meeting Carlos Sanchez and chatting with him, and then seeing that book was published and purchasing a copy of my own to have. I inspired me to buy a digital tablet, and now I've got this nice 15.6-inch tablet that's digital screen, so I can draw directly on it. Because when I made the one for the book, it's a tablet that you put on your desk and you draw like on the desk, but you look at the screen. So it's kind of like a weird learning curve. Anyway, so that was a lot of fun. So anyway, that was that.
Hey,
I'm very excited.
While it's there, I want to put this message back up. Eric had a great suggestion here. I want to remind everybody, please subscribe and hit that like button. It is so very important that you hit that like button. It gets us in the algorithm and gets more people to know about the show. And the more people they know about the show, you know what that means, right? That means more sabers that we are giving away. In fact, we are 31 away.
Wouldn't it be cool to have one for next week?
I would love to give one away on the Adasha show.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Next week is our very, very big show. The one that we did. Now I'm warning you about, but reminding you about.
Warning.
Yeah, it is a warning. You don't want to miss this one. You will be sad if you
don't miss this.
That's right. I think a lot of people forget, and I always tell people whenever I talk about the show, my favorite part of the show is that it's live interactive. I can't many other shows that you watch where you can message your favorite celebrity and have them answer your question on air without having to pay like a super chat or
you don't have to pay me anything. No, I'm not anyone's favorite celebrity.
But if you'd like to, don't forget we have a Patreon page.
We do have a Patreon. If you want to help support the channel, you can go to patreon.com/KyberK Productions, or you can go to kcpmerch.com and buy some merch from us. That helps. That's the best way to help support the channel. You can actually also do YouTube super chat since we got monetized 2 years ago this April.
Wow.
Which is pretty cool. The YouTube super chats also really help support the channel. So we very much appreciate it. Thank you for all of our patrons that we have on our Patreon right now, which we do have a thank you credits that plays at the end of the show if you didn't know. There's also perks to being on the Patreon. You can support us for as little as $1 a month and up to $50 a month. So,
that's right, but you get cool stuff for it. It's not.
You get cool stuff for it. You can you get registered to like do custom custom Saber giveaway. You get merch. You can get a hoodie. You can get a shirt. The stickers. All of the great, wonderful, fun stuff, and more. So check out patreon.com/KyberK Productions. All right. So first, as always,
nerdy news.
All right. What do you think is first on the nerdy news, man?
There's been a lot of Star Wars news lately. Oh, yes.
There's Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025 art show reveal. So a lovely and stunning set of works were shown in an article for Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025, which I believe is in April. And you don't want to miss the glimpse into these beautiful pieces from all these different artists. And so if you'd like to check that out, it is in the description, but it is also in the chat as usual. Because that's just who I am. Hi, Matt. How are you?
Yeah, Matt Rhonda is in the chat. I can't remember if I sent. I thought I did. I think
I sent you the address. I sent
you the address. I'm pretty sure I did. Let me know if you got your keychain or if you didn't. I'm very concerned about that. Obviously, more concerned than you are.
And next, so last week I actually did a review for Captain America.
Yes.
And this week I did a review for a different show. So I thought, I'm going to do this every now and then. This is just 2 reviews in a row, but every now and then I might throw a review in for a show I just finished. Okay.
Oh.
So this is CB Strike. This is available on Max with a Max subscription. And there have been 6 story-rich seasons so far of the show. And believe me, you would not regret tuning in to this realistic private detective TV show based on a series of novels written by Robert Galbraith, which is actually the pen name for J.K. Rowling, I believe. Each season is based on one of the novels, and the series dives deep into cases that CB Strike works on. My husband has read the books, and he says the seasons are very faithful to the books. And so if you are a fan of them, he thinks that those would be enjoyed it. The premise, Matt says, I'm good. Nothing yet. I'll definitely let you know. The premise is a woman fills in as a receptionist temp job at Strike's agency. He is down on his luck and life is low, but things turn around when this receptionist jumps into the detective role. She's kind of a natural. So you get to learn that kind of stuff. And it's a very good, very realistic show. These characters are interesting and written in a way like they have their flaws and it makes them relatable. It's a story that you could like really see happening. But CB Strike himself, he's a private eye detective. He's a veteran. He's actually disabled. He's missing. He's got a partial amputation on his left leg. The character. And Thomas Burke is the lead actor, and Holiday Granger plays Robin Ellicott, who is the receptionist who starts in the first season as the temp position there. So that is your nerdy news for today. So thank you for that. Vane's doing more stuff over there while the nerdy news is happening.
We just had some weird craziness happening here. Sorry, I had to.
Okay, no worries. Matt said he's not received it yet, but he'll let you know.
All
right. Next, guys, is our Flow of the Show. James Kaiser, our producer for Flow of the Show, also known as Darth Cephalus, provides us a flow every week. And this week's flow is actually someone who's been a flow on the show before.
Yes.
Sparkles, which I think that is the most fun and interesting name I've ever heard on our show. So I will throw his link in the chat. It's also in the description, but please enjoy this week's flow of the show.
Woo!
That is your flow of the show. Thank you, James Kaiser, for providing that. If you'd like to check out Sparkles, you can see them in the link that I put in the chat or in the description if you're watching the upload.
Yes, and one thing I wanted to point out for those that that may or may not know, we are very proud that I found out we are one of the few places on the internet that has a flow segment every week. But that type of flow, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but you may have noticed that his saber had a big red ball on the end where the pommel was, and then there was the red blade that was on there. But that type of saber, I believe, is called a contact saber, meaning it's meant to stay in contact with your body, as opposed to a saber that you throw up in the air and spin and twirl and
that makes sense.
Your back.
The term makes sense.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
A lot of the tricks that he was doing was rolling it on his body and things like that.
Thank you for that tidbit of info, because it's something that, like, I know there was something called a contact saber, but I didn't know exactly why it was called that.
Right, because it keeps with contact with your body. So yeah, so that's why it sounds silly, but when you come into Kyber Cave, a lot of times one of the first questions we ask you is what you're going to be using the saber for. If you're going to be doing it for flow, and then even if you're doing it for flow, you can see that there's different types of sabers you would want for different types of tricks that you're trying to achieve.
Yes, exactly. All right. Well, next is our guest, sir. Mr. Malone, I hope you enjoy the videos I made with your photos, because I was just having some fun there. You might giggle at them. You too, Van. Van doesn't get to see my videos until he watches them on the show. So he trusts me a little much. Anyway, all right, go ahead and introduce our guest, sir.
All right, our guest tonight is actually a dear friend of mine, and you might even say almost like a roommate. We shared the same spot together for 2 years in a downtown location when Kyber Cave was just a little baby Kyber Cave. There was a photography studio in the back of Kyber Cave called Grateful Photography, and it was run by this man. And you would be amazed that he had a little tiny room in the back, but he specialized in a lot of things like cosplay. But I remember one time I went into the shop and there was like an entire women's roller derby team was in the back, like shooting like shots and stuff like that. So I mean, he had all kinds of people coming through there shooting all kinds of fun. If you were in the cosplay community, you probably have seen him running around Northern California, different cosplays with his camera. He is very much beloved in the community for multiple years now. Please give it up for Grateful Photography's own Mr. Patrick Malone.
Good morning.
What's up, Daddy-O? Long time no see.
Yeah, how you doing?
I am beautiful. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing quite well. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm excited to have you. You have some of the most amazing photography at a lot of the cosplays here in Northern California.
Yeah, I've been doing it for about 6 years now. I'm just getting to that point where the nostalgia is going to kick in. Like if I took a picture of your kid at Ohana Comic-Con back in 2019, now your kid is, 13, 14, or, if it was if she was 13 at the time, now she's 18, 19 years old.
Right.
And, I can provide that picture, that nostalgic picture. Unfortunately, what it is now those are some of my worst ones because I was just getting into it at the time and I was trying to get good at what I was doing, which is how I came to start doing cosplay photography. I needed something to practice on for editing. So I thought, well, I'll go to these cons and start taking pictures. And I had so much fun. I just kept on showing up and they didn't stop me. So
and now you're kind of almost like a celebrity on the set. When you show up, people know who you are. They do their little poses for you.
Yeah, every once in a while. Yeah, some people are kind of unsure about it if they've never seen me before. But most people are very gracious. They'll pose for me, and a lot of them have seen me multiple times. And they'll I'll take their photos and edit them and do my best in order to present them in a good light and turn around and share them. And a lot of times I'll share them on Facebook.
Right.
I'll share them, with the Ohana Comic-Con, which is where you can see a lot of the photos that I've taken over the years.
Right. You seem to have built up a specific relationship with OhanaCon. Specific because a lot of your photos I know are at that, but I do see you at other ones as well. But it seems like a lot of them are at OhanaCon. I imagine because that's the one that works best with your work schedule.
Yeah. I actually have a full-time job. I deliver fuel for a living. It's just it's a 5-day a week, 12-hour a day job, and that's how I'm able to afford the equipment.
Right. Well, even Peter Parker couldn't be a photographer the whole time.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but he had the advantage of using company equipment. I've got to buy my own.
This is
you see these guys down on the sidelines at sports games using these really big, expensive lenses, and the thing about it is those are all owned and paid for by Sports Illustrated.
Right. When you're spending $30,000 on a lens.
Yeah.
And I can imagine, especially, well, first off, I want to back up a little bit. I remember specifically because Kyber Cave started in 2018. So I remember you kind of on the scene at kind of the same time we started kind of hitting the scene. We didn't really start going to cons in our beginning until, we'd had our doors open for a little while. So I've gotten to see how you grow and how you have how you've changed over the years. It seems like photography specifically, though, has some very expensive learning curves.
It does. A lot of photographers are fond of saying gear doesn't matter, and my answer to that is gear doesn't matter until it does.
Right.
If gear didn't matter, everybody could just use their cell phone, and they could get these amazing photos. But the truth of the matter is that there's a huge gear difference between taking a portrait with your phone and getting, a photo of somebody on a soccer field or, on a football field that's, 50 yards away, and getting that hero shot of the quarterback with his arm reached back, just about to throw the winning touchdown. So that, like I said, that's when, that $13,000 lens, you find out why it costs that much.
Right. I guess if an iPhone worked for everything, National Geographics would be using them, out in the wilderness and shark hunting and things like that.
Right. I mean,
and I think it does make a difference sometimes. Sometimes people say, like, why would you spend all that money when you can use your phone, or there's other cheaper phones? But I know a lot of times when I watch I'll watch YouTube shorts, and there's a guy called Harry Mack that comes up, and he comes up on Amigo, but he's a freestyle rapper. So he'll give you, he'll let you choose 3 topics, and then he'll add them into a rap or whatever. But one of the things is, a lot of times when his video comes up, people automatically see, they're like, your film quality is so much better. Your camera quality is so much better than the typical streamer. So they know automatically that this is somebody who does this professionally and not just, monkeying around on a Friday night.
Right. Here, the truth of the matter is that the best camera is the camera that you have on you. So if an iPhone is what you have with you, and that's going to get the shot, then that's going to get the shot. But when you're capable of having that next level camera and on you, it can make all the difference in the world. Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this huge barrier to entrance. I'm talking about a $13,000, lens. But the truth of the matter is that there are much, much less expensive lenses and setups where you can get amazing results. Right. And that's and if you look around and with a little bit of knowledge, you'll know what's right for you.
Right. Do you find yourself going back to kind of the same piece of equipment all the time, or do you kind of switch it up for the occasion, like whether you're doing a far shot or if you tend to be close to your subjects, or do you try to challenge yourself with doing shots that you haven't done before?
Absolutely. I like doing the cosplay, but I started off doing roller derby. Which is why there was the roller derby in the back. They all wanted glamour shots, and right. I provided as much as I could for them at the time. So portraits are my thing. Portraits are where my heart is, but I found that sports and other guerrilla style shots are where I frequently go to in order to challenge myself, simply because there's no take two in nature, you know, when you're getting that bird shot. There's no take two at a wedding when, you know, people are getting married. Wow. You know, you can't pose the players when they're on the field doing what they're doing. You have to take them. You have to take those photos as they're doing it, and so that's the challenge. But there are other challenges, like, you know, if you get somebody in studio, you're a professional, but it's quite often a case of, okay, let's get you posed, and, you know, you get the lights almost where you want them, and then you're constantly, you know, you might take 2, 3, 5 shots while you're fiddling with the lights just to get the shadows exactly where you want them on your model.
Right.
And, you know, that doesn't always work when, you know, little so-and-so, you know, with mom and dad is getting restless and wants a Jell-O pudding pop, and instead of sitting here getting his picture taken.
Right. Do you ever do any like film kind of things, like videos, or do you like the still photography better?
Oh, as far as motion goes, I actually a long time ago I made a fan film, a Star Wars fan film. Nice. So those are my early day. Those are my origins. If you can imagine a time before YouTube, if you can imagine a time before
there was a time
even MySpace. Yeah. I was a part of the East Bay Star Wars fan club, and I got this Canon Z, I want to say Z100 or whatever it was. It was a mini DV camera, and it was brand new technology at the time. And I cobbled together a computer that was just powerful enough in order to deal with it. It had an 80 gigabyte external hard drive on it. Ooh. Let me tell you. And I cobbled together a Star Wars fan film with my friends, with a completely legitimate and not at all pirated copy of Adobe Premiere Pro. The statute of limitations has run out, by the way. So too bad, Adobe. And that's still up on YouTube. And for all of its flaws, color correction, what in the world's color correction? For all of its flaws, for all of its for all of its scrapes and dings, I'm still proud of it because it was a learning experience.
Right.
And, you know, it was an experience in getting my friends together, wrangling them, getting on there what we wanted to shoot, and then taking that back and trying to cobble it together into a cohesive narrative, even though a lot of it was just, you know, kind of lame in jokes that we kind of made up on the spot.
Right.
You know, and there was no art to it at all. I had no idea what I was doing.
It's very
ISO.
hard.
Yeah. So I have done video, but that's if I'm going to. But in order to do that, you need a crew. And when you're a stills photographer, you just don't get that. There's a lot of people who do really good things, with video. I have a friend who does nature photography, and he's done some amazing things on his own. But that's not me. Right. Stills photography is largely where I am. But that's all because I like I said, I just don't have a crew to command. Otherwise, I'd be making stories as much as I could.
Right. Do you have any kind of end goal with Grateful Photography now? Do you do this as a hobby or as kind of a side business to bring in a little side cash? Or is this something potentially, if you could get rid of your 9-to-5? Now, I know that unfortunately that your 9-to-5 pays pretty well, so it would be very difficult to get rid of that. You'd have to be bringing in a lot of income from your side gig to be able to replace that. But I mean, if that were a goal, would you try to attain that?
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
if it were possible.
Sure, absolutely. Hey, in fact, the whole reason I got started was because I love doing photography, and I wanted to get good enough to become a wedding photographer. Um, and becoming a wedding photographer is still the goal. Um, but the thing about it is if when it comes to being a photographer, you know, like I said, there's no take two in wedding photography.
Right.
You know, if you miss that ceremony, it's done.
Right.
You can't redo that. So you have to be on top of your game every single moment while, you know, during the ceremony. The other, you know, at the reception, you can relax a little bit, but during the ceremony, you have to be on top of your game.
Right.
And I wanted that level of experience in order to make that happen. And so guerrilla style is where I had to go, and the Comic Cons provided that opportunity to get good. The problem with it is right around the time that I started to get really good and really confident with my skills, we had a little problem here in America and around the world.
Right.
It's spelled COVID.
Believe me, I remember. we were still in the shop downtown in downtown Fairfield.
Yeah. And so you know, weddings weren't happening, you know, nothing was happening. And you know, I had to lay off for about a year and a half. And then some other things happened in my life that kept me from, you know, doing anything on my weekends, such as they were. And you know, I'm not trying to make excuses in my professional life, but I have, you know, I've tried my best to keep up with my skills. But as far as making that my primary, you know, my primary source of income, that's just something that's not going to happen right now. Right. I'll have to rebuild all of that.
Wow. What do you think? You've done a lot of photography, and my experience with you has primarily been through the cosplay, just because that's kind of where our two worlds intersect. But do you have? I know you're working towards weddings, but do you have other types of situations like I don't know, family reunions, or are there other types of photography things that you like doing? Do you like doing nature shots, perhaps, or animal shots?
Sure. As far as it goes, you know, anything goes. It's not about the subject, you know, it's about, you know, it's, for me, it's not about the, you know, this or that subject. It's about the subject that's in front of me making that subject worth looking at. It's, you know, making, you know, capturing that moment. At the end of the day, photography is about capturing moments. Whether it's, you know, like that, you know, that airplane caught you know, on its side, you know, that's from the Travis Air Force Base,
right.
You know, air show, you know, and I captured that moment where the condensation's coming off of the wings. I'm really proud of that one. But I wouldn't sit here and say, oh, I only wanted to, you know, to shoot airplanes. Because another one there that I'm really proud of is from the writer's strike. I went down during the writer's strike. There was a writer that I follow named Mark Bernardin, who was going to be on the lines, and I wanted to go down and meet him, not only meet him, but you know, take his photo.
Right.
And, you know, this provided me the opportunity. And when I was down there, I became part of a much larger movement because I wasn't the only photographer down there. And I got some great shots of, the folks down there fighting for their rights,
right?
Fighting for the future of, future of the business. And, one of those shots is of course, a protester down at, or a picketer down at Universal. So I'm not limited at all. I'm about capturing the moment, whatever it is, whether it's a family reunion, whether it's a wedding, whether it's cosplay, whether it's, whether it's a social movement. Sometimes you take off your fun hat and you put on your journalist hat.
Right. I was just thinking, I think it's easy to forget, in 2025, because we're constantly surrounded by screens, we're constantly surrounded by our phones and videos, but a lot of the great moments in history has been changed by photojournalists who have sometimes put their own lives on the line to take pictures of, soldiers with, there's famous photos of, the what do they call, the 1,000-yard stare photos with the soldiers with the 1,000-yard stare. There's famous photos from the Vietnam War. There's that monk that set himself on fire, and to be a photographer in that moment and take that and really, it sounds simplistic, but sometimes it's a really big, it can be a very big duty because you are recording bits of history that cannot be disputed.
Yeah, well, I cannot, except for the writer's strike, I can't say that I've been present for anything that was, at least not with my, with my camera. I haven't been present for anything that was, earth shattering, although who knows? But to your point, I want to point out that, this is something I've thought about before. And excuse me if this gets pretty heavy. If all of you want something light, you may want to leave the room right now. But when Jewish refugees came to America after World War II, they said, "Don't think that it can't happen here." And what that kind of ignores is the fact that it did happen here twice. It's just that, when it happened to the Native Americans, the camera hadn't been invented yet. And while slavery was going on, the camera was being invented. And the camera brought that visceral reality of harsh brutality to the world. And then, it was things like, it was the miners' strikes. Then it was child labor. Then it was, just horror after horror after horror being perpetrated, as an everyday thing. If you talk about the banality of evil, it's shocking how, routine these things can become.
Right.
And then some photographer comes along and takes a photo of, some 6-year-old who's lost his fingers at the factory, and that goes off to New York, and it really shocks the sensibilities of the readers of the New York Times, and they go, "Well, we can't have this."
Right.
So photography has the power to change the world.
Right. I was just thinking, last night I was watching a small YouTube documentary on Coco the gorilla, and the gorilla that could do sign language. And there was, I think, at least 2 different National Geographic covers that Coco was on the cover of the National Geographics. But one of them was Coco taking a picture of himself in the mirror, as as a reflection. And it's amazing to me. I mean, not just bad things, but amazing moments of learning, or moments of enlightenment. Sometimes moments of hope can be found in just one visual shot. There's that old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Right, exactly. Photography has that power. Not like I said, to not only capture horrors, but also to capture beauty, to capture our imaginations. It's like I think one of the things that really inspired me to get into photography is the photo of the Afghan girl, also from National Geographic. She just has these stunning green eyes, and it's just this incredible portrait of a young girl. And they said, oh, these eyes capture the horror of war. And then it turns out that there's, way more to the story than meets the eye. But here's this otherwise anonymous girl from Afghanistan who, because of this photo, that's the one right there. She goes on and tells her story, and brings a lot of attention to the what's going on in that part of the world, which wasn't always pretty.
Right.
But
I think a lot. My whole point was that I think a lot of times people think of it as they just think about the fun parts of photography and just hanging out and doing selfies with your buddies, which is absolutely amazing that we have the technology to do that now. But there's also a very a deep rooted history in how important photography is as well.
Absolutely. But we can have fun with it, and that's one of the great things is it's been democratized now, and now we're seeing what people want to do with it, and they turn the camera on themselves quite frequently. It's a case of oh hey, here I am at about at the airport about to go to Las Vegas, or oh hey, I'm at Disney World. Sometimes it's a case of hey, here I am, buy this energy drink that's paying me money to promote it, and that's fine. It's a tool, and it can be used any way that you want to. But and I think fun is an absolutely valid way to use it. And I'll tell you about one of the most fun pictures I ever, some of the most fun pictures I've ever taken. Shortly after COVID, I didn't have much to do, so but I got a season pass to the Six Flags that's near here. It's relatively cheap, so I wind up going there with my camera because, like I said, I've got nothing better to do. And I start taking photos of people on, they see the camera and they start doing this number, or giving me the middle finger to the camera. And I take their photos on there, and I take I get all these great photos of people in midair on this ride, on this incredibly fast ride, with big smiles on their faces. And that's when I'm and they come down and they say, hey, can I get a copy of the photo? And I say, absolutely.
Right.
And I share it with them. And one of the things that I'm simultaneously proud of and simultaneously unable to share is I caught a kid in mid puke.
Oh, lovely.
Yep. I've got this 10 shot series of this kid in mid puke on the Wonder Woman ride. I've got his friend next to him. He's got this like, get me off this ride look on his face. I've got I've got vomit sprayed in the air next to him. It's great.
That's got to be in a contest somewhere. Maybe worst photo contest.
I've shown it to some of the employees, but I can't share it on social media. or I could, but he's a kid and I don't want to embarrass him. Although it's been 2 years, it's been like a year and a half, 2 years since I took that photo. So, maybe now it's one of those things he can look back and laugh like, oh, wasn't that fun? And I've caught it a couple of times, with people, passed out on the ride, so I've had some fun with the photography as well.
Have you ever had the incident where anyone was like annoyed or pissed off at you? Or I'm sorry. Or, we're not happy with you, less than please. Like, I mean, I guess what you're doing for the most part, you're in kind of public areas, right?
Right. Now, this is something that I've actually had to research, and all photographers eventually wind up dealing with this. The Supreme Court of this United States developed in one of its decisions the doctrine of the reasonable expectation of privacy. And when you are in public, you have no reasonable expectation of privacy. In other words, I can take your photo.
Right.
If you're out in a park, I can take your photo, and there's really nothing you can do about it. That being said, if you take somebody's photo, and they come up to you and they start getting mad at you, there's really nothing that you can do about that either. Right. You can patiently explain to them your rights as a photographer, but that's not going to make you a whole lot of friends. So there have been times when I've taken people's photos, and I've said, they've come up to me afterwards saying, "Oh, what are you going to do with those?" And I tell them, well, mostly edit them and archive them and forget them. Right. And sometimes I'll just go, look, I'll delete them.
Right.
Do you want to, because so you can be right, but you can also be dead right. And I like one time I was walking around Jack London Square, and I leaned down to take a photo of a sticker that was on a window in a coffee shop. And I walked in there to get coffee, and this guy comes in there, "What are you taking photos of?" And I'm like, not of anybody in the shop.
Right. Right.
He got paranoid, which tells me that, maybe he's cheating on his wife with somebody that's in there, and he thought I was the PI. So who knows what's going through their heads, but I swear to you, I'm not doing anything. If I take your photo, I'm not doing anything weird with it. In fact, if you ask me for a copy of it, I'll be like, hey, give me your email address and I'll send you a copy of it.
Right.
Which is, if you don't mind me explaining the inspiration for the name of the business, Grateful Photography. Back in the day, the Grateful Dead used to allow people to record their shows. That's why there's so many tapes of their live shows.
Right.
Because their philosophy was, hey, once we're done playing the music, we're done with it. And that's kind of my philosophy on the photos. Is once I take those photos, I'm done with them. Mm. And I'll do something with my clients that almost no other photographer will do. And that's this. I will provide the raw files to my clients. I'll give those up. Now, I keep a copy of them for the purposes of archiving them. And, plus, I can use them for promos and things like that. Like if I take a great wedding photo, I can use that on my website. Like, oh, here's a sample of so-and-so's photo.
Right.
Wedding photo. That's very common. But, I don't, but back in the day, back before photos were digital, one of the ways that photographers made money is by selling prints. So, you didn't get the negatives. You paid the photographer to be there, take the photos, And then he would get you the proofs, and you would go, okay, I'll take one of those at 24 by 36, and I'll take a bunch of these at 8 by 10. And that's how the photographer made his money, is through selling you the prints.
Right. And then if you wanted more, you had to buy more directly through him.
Right. Exactly. Right. Right. Exactly. And I'm happy to do that too. It's just that the game has changed now. In order to get a professional print, you don't need to take those over to to a big printing house. Now you can do all that online.
Back in the days when you didn't get film or pictures instantly, and you had to wait to see what your pictures look like.
Oh yeah, let me tell you about the days of my steam-powered camera, eh? You had to crank it in order to heat up the water in order to turn the turbine.
Hey, we got a question here. What is the lens that you use the most when you do cosplay shots?
What's the what?
What is the lens that you use the most when you do cosplay shots?
My 70 to 200.
Me asking. Okay, that's good.
Probably the lens that I use the most is my 70 to 200 f2.8. Simply because that's got a great range. I can be relatively close and still get something of a wide shot, and then I can zoom into 200 and get that headshot that's so wonderful, and you just get that great blown out background. I've got a couple of those. And when you're capturing them guerrilla style, you find yourself zooming in and out quite a bit. So you zoom back to 70 and people are walking towards you in order to go back into the crowd after they've done their catwalk. And I got this great candid shot of a guy that was dressed up as Captain Jack Sparrow. I've got just his face framed by the braid over here and and the hat over here, and that's something I took over in Santa Rosa a few weeks back.
Right.
The 70 to 200 f2.8 is probably my go-to lens for 90% of things. But when it's indoors, I have a tendency to use my 50 millimeter f1.2, simply because when I'm indoors, a lot of the times the lighting is just terrible. It's lit by it's lit by fluorescent lights, which is fine for humans but not great for cameras. Right. And it actually winds up being pretty dim. And so I use this incredibly fast lens just to get these shots, simply because if I didn't, you wouldn't be able to see anything. In fact, that when she did the opening and she showed that photo of you where you were pointing, hey, right. that photo was taken with that lens, that 50 millimeter f1.2. And you can see how dark that is. And, while us humans can see just fine in those, in those Comic-Con vendor spaces, for a camera, it's incredibly dim. So you have to have something like that. But yeah, between the 70 to 200 f2.8 and the 50 millimeter f1.2, those are my two go-to lenses right now.
Excellent. Do you have like a bag of lenses that you're carrying around, or do you try to keep it simple and clean when you're going to these kind of events?
When I'm going into an event, I'll usually take just one lens. Mm-hmm. And that's the advantage of having like a zoom lens, like either a 24 to 70 f2.8 or a 70 to 200 f2.8. Mm-hmm. You get that versatility. There's actually a new lens. It's like $3,000, but it's a 24 to 105 f2.8. And oh man, I really want that for convention work, because you get that nice wide, you can get those nice wide angles so that you can get, full body shots. or you can take them in cramped spaces. But you also get that 105 millimeters, so that you can zoom in and when during like the cosplay contest, that's where you might be at the front row or you might be off to the side or whatever. So but every once in a while I'll be in a situation where I want a little bit of variety. Like when I was at the writer's strike, I actually carried two cameras. I carried I carried the 24-70 f2.8 on my Canon R5, and then I had my R6 loaded up with my 70-200, and so I had that versatility. I had I could get people both close up, and I could also get them like across the street, and so I could get I could zoom in and get this wide variety of shots. So I for that you use a harness. There's a bunch of harnesses, but the one that I happen to use is called Black Rapid, and it's great. That's that's what I use down, like I said, down at the writer's strike.
Right. All right. This year that we have coming up here in 2025, even going into 2026, do you have anything that you're going to be doing that you're looking forward to? Something that's, say, off of the beaten path of what you typically do, or maybe there's a new show you're excited to take photography at?
One of the things that I'd like to try to do is I'd like to try to leverage leverage one of my friendships here in order to get into a place that I've never gotten into before. My Uncle Lee used to be the director at the Community Access Channel down in Hayward for Comcast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for you kids out in the audience who don't know what community access channels are, there used to be this thing called cable TV, and the federal government made them made those cable TV people have a studio available so that the public could make their own television shows.
That was where I got my start.
That's right. And my Uncle Lee was a director at one of those, the one in Hayward. So he got his start over at KTVU.
Oh, wow.
Dennis Richmond unfortunately passed away just a few weeks ago, and I told him about it, and he had a couple of stories about working with Dennis, and he was like, "Oh man, Dennis was such a professional. Smoked like a chimney though." Anyway, my Uncle Lee has a lot of connections in the business, and he just might be able to get me down on the field at the Oakland Coliseum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or someplace else. I'd love to do more sports photography on the sidelines, simply because you never know what you're going to get. Right. And
a lot of action shots, a lot of creativity in how you're going to shoot those things.
Right. So I'd love to do sports. I'd love to, like I said, I'd love to, on a more personal level, I'd love to go and take photos at a friend's, I got a friend whose kids do soccer, and their mom loves having photos of the kids all over the house. So I need to make those happen for her.
Night Vision said combat sabering the sport. Yeah. Have you ever thought about going out to like Saber Legion or Lightspeed, the fighting competitions?
The real challenge there is that you can take a bunch of still photos of people in combat, and you're going to get some great stances But there's really only there's only so many photos you can take of people, at each other with with lightsabers or swords or whatever, and keep it interesting. But after the fact, you get to go in and you get to Photoshop in the blades.
Right. Mets, if you got a couple, I don't know if you have the ability to show them, but if you got a couple of you want to show really quick, we're going to get ready and wrap up this segment here in a second. But yeah, I forgot you were at these are photos that you took from KyberCon. Thank you, Mets. I love our director. These are photos that you took at KyberCon 3 when we were here in Fairfield. There's Eric Voss for those of you that watch YouTube and watch New Rock Stars. John Michael is from Squid Game. He was one of the VIPs. He is the first Squid Game actor to have come to the United States. That was such a fun show, man. That was so long ago. Yeah, look at wait, stop right there. Wait, go back one. I love this shot because it almost looks like 3D. It looks like he's popping out of that picture. He looks like he's, I don't know, kind of almost layered.
It's called aperture.
Yeah, well, what you've got going on there is you've got background blur, which is, in Japanese is known as bokeh, B-O-K-E-H, and basically that's the out of focus area behind your subject is bokeh. And there's of course there's of course the I forget his name.
Alan Fernandez.
Yeah.
Alan Fernandez. Yeah. There's the other new rock star,
Tommy Bechtold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are amazing. Oh, look at that shot. That is beautiful.
Yeah. Mr. Hooper.
Mr. Hooper, yes. Do you prefer? And we're gonna get ready to wrap up in a second. I love that black and white shot. There's something to me. There's something to me that when you see a black and white shot, it just seems to speak much in different types of volumes. Do you have a difference of when you prefer to do a black and white and when you prefer to do color? Or I mean, obviously, it looked like most yours were color, with just the black and white is the exception to the rule.
Black and white it is when it's about texture, shape, and shadow. When you're dealing with a lot of texture, shape, and shadow, try doing it in black and white, because that can take the focus off of some of the details and put it onto the simplicity of the subject. It removes the distraction of color and makes you focus on just the subject itself.
Right.
Which is why black and white photography for portraits can be so they can be so powerful. You can take a black and white photo of somebody in an interesting pose, and it draws you in more.
Right.
Whereas a color photo wouldn't do as much. Plus when you shoot it like super high ISOs, which has a tendency to make the photo grainy. If you make it black and white, you don't lose all the, you lose all the color instead of just losing part of the color, and it doesn't look as washed out. So every once in a while, I see mezzos like, oh yeah, I've been there, huh?
We're getting ready to close up here. Do you have any shows that you're going to be at this year, places where people can find you? I know for those of you in the audience who would like to see more of Patrick's artwork, as always, our fantastic director does a great job of putting that in the descriptions. Actually do end of life senior pet photography. Oh, wow, that's going to be rough. Do you have anything that any shows that that you're going to be at that people can find you at?
Look at the Ohana Comic-Cons around the Bay Area. In fact, I was going to go to one today over in Castro Valley, but I had to do this instead. I didn't think I could be back in time. one of the things that, I work the night shift, so I don't wake up until like 11:30 in the morning.
Right.
I don't go to bed until like 4 in the morning, but I get up at like 11:30 in the morning. So, sometimes on my weekends, I have to pick and choose. But yeah, I would have been at Castro Valley today, but I had to do this instead. But man, look at the Ohana Comic-Cons, look at SAC Animes, look at places like that. And it's not just me. It's BHG Photography. There's a couple of other people that do it as well. Mm-hmm. BHG Photography works with Miss Marvelous, who was who does a lot of like Rogue and what's her other thing? Anyway, she does it. Oh no, she did Black Widow with her husband Mikey Nada. Uh-huh. So anyway, it's kind of catch can, but if there's the one thing that I go to almost without fail is the Ohana Comic-Cons here in Fairfield.
Yes.
And they usually come around in September, which is a long time away. But like I said, pretty much anywhere up here in the Bay Area, if I can make it on a Sunday, I absolutely will.
Yes. Well, hopefully we will see. Kyber Cave is actually technically, Kyber Cave Production will be one of the sponsors at VacaCon. So Mezzo over there is going to have her own little booth. She's going to be doing autographs for people and taking photos with all of her fans.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
She's going to get to talk to the cosplayers and the celebrities and such.
Yeah, but if I've taken your photo at a Comic-Con, don't be shy. Ask me about it. Tell me, what you were dressed up as. I might even remember. And if you want a copy of those, just let me know. You can find me on Instagram at grateful.photographer. And just send me a message over there. And again, I don't hoard these pictures for myself. I take them so that I can share them with people. That's part of the philosophy of the Grateful Dead. That's part of the beauty of that community is sharing it with people.
Yes.
And, I love seeing, people's eyes light up when they see themselves on the photos. I get to show them, on the back of the screen. And I'm like, well, you haven't seen anything else. Wait until you see this, on a big screen, or wait until you've blown it up, to 24 by 36 or something like that.
Yes. Sometimes it is difficult for people to see their own beauty until it is reflected back to them.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, Mr. Patrick, it has been beautiful getting to hang out with you. I miss the day. God, it seems like 2020 seems like a million worlds away from. It doesn't seem like 5 years ago. That's for certain.
And yet it does. So much has changed, right?
Right.
But it's lovely seeing you two. We need to hang out. And I want to see everybody at the Comic-Cons, in the spring and the summer. And
yes, get out to your cons. They are there. They are waiting for you, especially if you live in California. There is literally 2 or 3 cons every weekend during the spring and the summer.
That's right. That's right. And you need to come there and you need to buy a lightsaber from this man, because let me tell you something. I was talking about doing the fan film earlier. Right. We did not have master replicas at the time. We didn't have, park sabers at the time. Right. We had to cobble together lightsabers. And I'm not joking about this. We had to put our lightsabers together out of plumbing parts. We would take, a Schedule 12 piece of chrome pipe and cut it at an angle and, rivet doodads to it. And
built many a lightsaber.
Yeah, and literally I had one that had a shower head on it because it kind of looked like, it kind of looked like an emitter on a saber. I may still have photos of that someplace. you know, so come down there and get a lightsaber from this man, you know, before we, you know, before we have to go back to the days of cobbling them together ourselves.
All right, make sure you check out Patrick at an OhanaCon or show in Northern California near you. Patrick, it has been a pleasure, and I will see you on the circuit.
I'll see you out there, sir. You have a great night.
Take it easy, man. All right, let's roll that. I love it. I like how you did a little heart.
Yeah, all the Deadpools, the family Deadpool little hearts. Then I found I have an element, Envato Elements is an asset website subscription program that I have, and so I have like the heart for like it drew a heart, and I just sized them to be their hands. And then I did. If you didn't see at the beginning, the Joker gets fire in his eyes.
Yeah, that was kind of creepy.
That video actually, the eye video is like full size eye, like fire. Like it's pretty crazy looking, actually.
And as a point of reference, I want to note that Andrea and Matt are husband and wife. They were the Deadpools in that shot. I don't know who the kid is necessarily. It's not their child. It's just some random Deadpool child that they kidnapped.
Random Deadpool child.
But they are husband and wife, and we've actually had them both individually on this show. Nice. In fact, Fresno Miss Lady Deadpool.
Kidpool. It's Kidpool on Instagram is who the kid is. What?
Okay. So they are the husband and wife are Fresno Deadpool and Lady Deadpool Fresno. She blew up right after this last Wolverine and Deadpool movie came out. Her Facebook and Instagram pages like absolutely blew up with new followers. So we love everything they are doing. They're a very cool family.
Makes sense. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Malone, for coming on the show. He's hanging out in our green room and he might be playing our next little game that we have soon. But before we play it, I want to remind you guys that we do Saber giveaways every 100 subs. And this next one coming up is a Neo Saber Pixel one, which is a
Kyber
big deal.
Exclusive.
Yes, Kyber Gig exclusive. So you'll be very excited. If you also want to get a cool one, let me show you the hilt of one I really like.
Uh-oh.
It's mine.
Yeah,
it's a mess.
And actually, that's still one of our best sellers.
Oh, is it really?
It is. People love
it's one of my favorites. Everyone's gonna say I have the mess, and I'm like, hey, that's me.
Can you imagine at some point some people might be buying that saber and having you autograph their saber?
That would be gosh, stop it. I have told Van a gazillion times that no one knows me like that. like who I am like that. He says autographs, and I'm like, what?
You will be amazed. Like I said, once I got out of Fairfield and started going to like SoCal and Nevada and Oregon and started finding people who already knew our channel, I'm
gonna be one of those people that they recognize on the screen but not in person.
That's
cool, Saber Hill. It is really cool. I'm gonna be one of those people that you'd recognize me on screen but not in person. Like they'll see me in person and not even notice. And then they'll be like, wait, that's her.
I have been doing this show for 4 years. I've had people. I remember I went to the DMV and I put my bag on the counter. The lady looked at my face and she looked at the bag and she was like, I've seen your show. She didn't recognize me. She recognized the logo. I'm on this show. I've been doing this show for 4 years. You didn't recognize me?
And I've been on for almost 2 years, and so no one's going to recognize me either. All right. Well, anyway, it's time for our game.
Though. You've already had somebody, though, the last time you were at VacaCon.
You mean Shelby?
Yeah, well, right, but she wasn't. She was brand new at the time. She still knew who you were.
Yeah. She knew who I was, and I felt like it was probably because you told her. That's what I felt like. That's what I wondered. All right, guess that character time, guys. I forgot you want music during this, don't you? You like to have music during guess that character. How about?
Oh wow!
No,
is
not
that the music, really?
That was you laughing.
I know that was me laughing.
This is a game show theme. All right, we'll do this. All right, guys, it's time for Guess That Character.
Ooh.
Who is this? Put it in the chat.
Ooh.
Who do you think this is? Oh, cue the accordions, Patrick. I'll have to get accordions next time. Definitely will have to. Put in the chat who you think this is. Patrick thinks it's Michael B. Jordan. It is a Star Wars character. So you have to guess the Star Wars character from the hill. Is Michael B. Jordan? I don't think he's in any Star Wars stuff, though, if I think about it.
No, Marvel.
He's Marvel. I like the music. It's kind of chill. Kind of lo-fi-ish.
Yeah, I like it. All right, I got a guess coming.
All right,
1 second. Okay, I don't remember his name, but I remember details.
I think you're correct. Because I haven't seen that yet.
Let's see. I can't remember the character's name. Patrick.
Put in the chat who you think it is. Kevin needs hints that gives it away. It is from a show that has come out in the last 2 years. There's your hint.
Oh, yes. Okay, there's your hint, Kevin. I'm sure stay wrong.
In the last 2 years. I'm doing a little song.
Okay, so for
me, am I doing this song?
It was the hairstyle that caught my attention.
Although I understand why Patrick thought Killmonger, like that does to have that kind of type of hairstyle too.
That kind of chicken hair.
This is Yord. Yes.
Yord, yay!
From Acolyte. Yeah, I haven't seen Acolyte myself yet, so I only give a basic knowledge about who he is. Because I don't like for people like me who haven't seen it, I don't want them to get spoiled like I was. Yord Fandar was a human male Jedi Knight of the Jedi Order who lived during the High Republic era. As a Jedi Padawan, he befriended Rosha, aka Osha Anastasia, eventually being promoted to Jedi Knight, and he took on Tassi Loa as a Padawan. And just to, like I said, just to keep spoiling anyone who hasn't seen Acolyte like me, I don't want to spoil it for them like I did myself, so I will not reveal more than his basic info like that. Now,
I did not remember that his name was Yord, so I called him the yellow lightsaber guy from Acolyte.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know, because I don't remember. I hadn't seen it yet, so I don't know what color his saber was. His crystal, his kyber crystal. All right. Who is this?
Oh.
Who be that?
Okay, well. Discount.
You're seeing that in the private chat now. Be this. Careful showing Acolyte stuff. Don't want to get other people, Saber people, upset. Oh, they'll live. Get over it. Show's done and over with. Get over it. This one's not Acolyte, though, in case you were curious.
I like how Say Wong said Agatha. Is that like from Agatha All Along?
Yeah, Agatha All Along.
Whole different franchise.
That's a whole different cinematic universe. That's Marvel. Although, I'd like to pay like her sister. I got the hair, right? I can play her sister. Mara Jade is Van's guest. Cindy Crawford, Patrick. I like her guesses more than our usual ones. Although this is a very beautiful woman, and it is not Mara Jade.
Oh.
It. Who wants to know? You got one more guess?
One more guess. Wait. Okay. I can't remember her name, but I can describe her.
Eric Smith says Kira.
Oh, yes. That was mine.
It is Kira. Oh! Kira was a human female crime lord from planet Corellia who lived during the reign of the Galactic Empire. Yes, and I only saw Solo once, but I remember she's gorgeous. Oh my gosh. Between 3 ABY and 4 ABY, Crimson Dawn resurfaced under the leadership of Kira, having stolen Han Solo, who had been frozen in carbonite, from bounty hunter Boba Fett. She plotted to bring major galactic factions to her with Solo as the bait. Once the attack on the Executioner ended with the Empire and the Hutt Clan in conflict, Kira moved forward with her next plans to bring down the Sith. She lured the Emperor and Vader into a trap at the Amexine space station. Her plans were disrupted when the Knights of Ren betrayed her and freed the Sith Lords from the Fermata Cage, and resulting in the collapse of Crimson Dawn, she bequeathed her remaining resources to the young Cadelia and went into hiding. And that was the last that Wikipedia has. So that is your guess that character and all that jazz this evening.
Dude, I was 2 for 2 tonight, and
yes,
and
Patrick, it will be on the test.
This is getting easier. You can't mess with.
You want me to make it harder?
No,
I will use only video game characters. You hear me?
You've been doing this game for like 2 months, and I'm just now getting them.
I would have loved to see the story of Solo continued. I think the hard part is when you got such. Let me turn off this stupid music. It feels weird to talk with music. When you have such a beloved thing like Star Wars, and then they want to tell the story more, but and try to find new ways to do it, and you're doing it with different people and characters that others were used to, sometimes it can be really hard for the original fan base to really latch on to make it big like the originals was. And so if it doesn't do well, studios aren't going to continue, which is just unfortunately how it is.
Can I say I honestly believe, and this is my personal belief, but I think Solo itself is actually a pretty good movie. But some of the problems that Disney has had as of late is that a lot of their projects are going through so many directors' hands. It's been turned over from person to person that by the time you start to the time you finish, you don't have a clear, cohesive story. So many people have had input in it. And a lot of times when they just stick to one, I mean, I'm still going to say, I honestly will say that Rogue One is one of my favorite of all of the Star Wars movies, even the George Lucas era movies. Disney has the ability to make good movies. They just got to stick with the plan and execute.
Patrick asked about when are we going to do a podcast on the Star Wars movies, and it's funny because my youngest hasn't really seen any of them. And I keep wanting to. I'm trying to. They're not really movie kids, which is kind of awkward because we're such movie. My husband and I love movies and TV shows, and I've been contemplating on having him sit down and recording his reaction to the movies in the order that all of us have watched them. And getting his and then just editing it down to his reactions during key moments and stuff, or just really good reaction moments.
Have you ever seen? There's a bunch of videos on YouTube of people's first time.
Oh, yeah, and he's 11. It'd be a really kind of cool age to kind of watch him react to some stuff. All right. Well, we want to play something for you, premiering our guest for next week that we're very excited about.
Excited. You got to let everybody know, please.
Yes, please tell everybody. We're very excited.
We have a copy of this video on our YouTube page. Please copy and paste it.
Yeah, we have it as a short and as a full video, so you can share either one. Here right. is
so excited.
Here's a preview featuring Adasa, next week's guest.
We don't talk about Bruno, no. We don't talk about Bruno. But it was my wedding day. We were getting ready and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. Bruno walks in with a mischievous grin. You telling the story or am I?
I'm sorry, mi vida, go on.
So that is very exciting. That I will be touching base with her on email this week, just to make sure we finalize. We had her originally scheduled a while back, but she had flights changed schedules. She had to be on a plane during the show. So we
she just had 7 children.
Stop. So thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Thank you, James Kaiser, for bringing us to fill the show. Thank you, Patrick Malone, for being on the show tonight and hanging out with us and answering all of our nerdy questions, like me wanting to know what lens you use at cosplay conventions, because photographer, I was like, I want to ask nerd questions. That was me last week with the Nerdist, asking all the nerdy stuff. All right, guys, you have a wonderful evening.
Everybody in the audience for tuning in week after week. We appreciate you being here. Without you, there is no us.
That is very true. All right, guys, you have a wonderful evening, and please enjoy Talk of the Town.
Adios.
Which I got working.